on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop, is our friend Matt Barnes from NBC Sports California, All the Smoke podcast, and also ESPN. Matt, as always, we appreciate you joining us here on Sactown Sports. I wanted to ask you a question to start off. As a former player, Matt, how much can we really take out, or how much should we take out of the preseason that we just watched?
Not much at all, unfortunately. Preseason is used to fine-tune things, kind of find out who's going to be on the roster, and really kind of take a look at what you got. The Kings have been nice the last few preseasons, and it hasn't translated to the regular season. But, the things I did see, the one thing I'm really impressed by is their ability to shoot the ball. And I think that's going to carry them a long way. Am I echoing?
No, not for us.
Not on our end. No.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Matt, what do you think Mike Brown has brought to this basketball team? And I know you said you can't take a lot out of the preseason, but you brought up the way that they shoot it. I also like the way that this offense moves. It seems like it's going to be a high-tempo offense under Mike Brown.
I mean, Mike has been an hour up the freeway with the Dynasty Warriors team the last handful of years, so I think he's bringing those principles. Defensive, first and foremost, flying around, having each other's back. The ability to move the ball and get good shots get great shots instead of good shots, and really just believing in each other, playing for one another. I think Mike brings all that, and I think, again, the ability to go out there and find shooters is definitely going to pay dividends for, someone like De'Aaron Fox, who uses his speed to his advantage as much as he can.
Matt Barnes with us here on Cattles Ramie, Sactown Sports. Matt, you mentioned the shooting. You just talked about some of the stuff they'll do offensively. What do you think their ceiling is this year offensively? Are we talking top 10 offense, top 5 offense, or is that way too heavy right now?
Well, I mean, it's really early, so right now it'd be a guesstimation. But again, when you apply, principles that, have worked in other situations, you're hoping for the best. Again, they've been able to add shooters around De'Aaron and Sabonis, which is important. Again, that ball movement is going to be crucial, turning down good shots and getting great shots. This team's ability to shoot the ball, I was talking to someone earlier today. This team hasn't had this many shooters maybe ever, but, another era was, the early 2000s with those really good Kings teams where they can really space the floor and shoot the ball. So, again, it's kind of early to tell, but I know that Mike Brown is definitely bringing that ball movement concept to this team.
And one of the things that a lot of people wonder about this Kings team is, can they play defense? And there are a lot of guys on this roster, Matt, that, to put it kindly, don't have a reputation for playing defense. How much can a coach change that?
A coach can be a lot. Mike has been known to be a defensive-minded coach. So just because you're not a great individual defensive player doesn't mean you can't be a good team defense. And that's, that's talking, that's being on the help line, that's understanding coverages, that's being able to throw multiple coverages, and it's, obviously finishing the possession, with the rebound. But one thing I wanted to point out, obviously, Davion Mitchell is one that's, to me, between him and Kawhi Leonard, one of the best on-ball defenders we have in this game. But I'm looking for De'Aaron Fox to step up on the defensive end this year. Just someone who's fully capable of doing it, someone who I think can be an all-defensive team member if he just put his mind to it. All that quickness and athletic ability on the offensive end can easily transform over to the defensive end. So I think, it starts with the head of the snake, with the guards, and, defense is contagious. It's just energy and heart. And I know, again, that's one thing that Mike Brown is going to definitely bring, because, again, you don't have to have a team full of great individual defensive players. You have to have a team full of smart guys that know how to play team defense.
Matt Barnes is with us here from NBC Sports California, All the Smoke Pod, ESPN. Also, don't forget he's on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. I want to follow up with the De'Aaron Fox defensive stuff, Matt. He's been pretty honest, saying that he doesn't get up for everybody, right? He doesn't get up for every guard that he defends night in and night out. He gets up for the bigger names. If you're his teammate, is there anything that you can say to him, or anything that you can do to try to get him up for maybe those games that he might not be feeling it, so to speak?
I mean, it's just not the right mindset to have. You never want to play to the level of your competition. If you're as great as he is, you want to be great every single night. And I think that's what makes people go from good to all-stars to real franchise players, So he has all the ability, he has all the tools in the world to be whatever he wants to be in this game. So the two areas actually 3 areas I think that he needs to step up in this year, and which he's capable of, is his leadership, his ability to make plays for others, and playing defense. And again, those are all things that he's capable of because he's such a tremendous talent.
You said defense is contagious earlier. Is playing down to your competition also contagious and something that can trickle down throughout the rest of the roster?
Hopefully not. That sounds really young. I remember I used to do that in high school and college. Like, I played to the level of competition. But, when you get here and you're as talented as he is and looked upon as the leader, paid as the highest paid player on the team, your level's always got to be maximum, no matter who you're playing, whether you're playing, the best team in the league or one of the worst teams. But, historically, since he's been here, this team has been one of the worst teams. So it baffles me to hear him even say that I play down to the level of my competition when, this team hasn't accomplished anything.
With us here, Cattles Ramie, Sactown Sports. Matt, a lot of talk about Keegan Murray. Obviously looked fantastic summer league in the preseason when he played those 2 preseason games. Is it only a matter of time before he starts, or are you surprised that he's not starting right off the bat?
Not necessarily. And I think what's important for him is not to focus on whether he starts or comes off the bench, but if he's able to close games. The guys on the floor the last 3 to 5 minutes are the guys that coach trusts the most. So, whether you start, whether you come off the bench, it doesn't really matter. Coach is going with the 5 people he feels best that he can win with. And obviously his offensive repertoire is endless, and a very skilled shooter, can also put the ball on the floor, get to his spots, make plays for other people. But he's going to have to work on the defensive end too. He's going to have to be held accountable. He can't be a weak link. That's one thing normally that rookies, we were blessed to have Davion come over and just be a defensive bulldog. But normally young players struggle with rotations and concepts and defensive understanding. So if he wants to be the guy, whether he's starting or coming off the bench, that's not important. He wants to be a guy that finishes the game because he is such an offensive threat that he needs to, pay attention to defense as well.
You feel like he's the real deal? You got a good feeling about Keegan Murray?
I really like him. He's my sleeper for Rookie of the Year. Obviously, my number 1 pick will probably be Paulo, and there's some good young players over in Detroit. But, Keegan is one of those rare finds where, his size, his length, his ability to shoot the ball like a true shooter at his size. And again, you don't really see too many holes in this game. He's got a great feel offensively. He's got a great touch around the basket with his floaters and putting stuff off the glass. So I really like, what this kid is going to bring to the table, and I know the city's going to embrace him.
Matt Barnes is with us here on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Just a couple more for you, Matt. When you go back to the preseason, I just wanted to ask you about Mike Brown's approach, because there were a number of times during the preseason that he took really quick timeouts, 60 seconds, 30 seconds into a quarter. What message is he sending to his team in that moment in a preseason game?
Well, they're trying to, establish an identity. There's a certain way you play. And again, Mike has been able to win, with a few different teams. And, he's seen it all. He's got a lot of knowledge on the game. So, you have to implement the system. This team has been looking for an identity and it's been looking for leaders. And I think Mike knows that. So when Mike implements a defensive scheme and he doesn't see it going the way he wants to, he calls a timeout. When Mike sees the lack of ball movement, when they discuss ball movement, he's going to call a timeout. So it's just sending a message to guys that, hey, the way you guys have been playing hasn't worked. The way this franchise has been playing the last 16 years hasn't worked. So, listen to me. This is why they hired me, and I'm going to do what I can to get you guys over the hump.
Want to ask you one question, non-Kings, before we let you go here, Matt. Yesterday, and I know it's just one game, but the Lakers looked like a lot of people expect the Lakers to look this year, including Russell Westbrook, not looking like he's enjoying playing the game of basketball right now. Can they get that thing right out there in Los Angeles?
It's going to be tough. That team has no shooting. No one you can really count on, like, hey, this is our shooter. They don't have that. And this is, we all know this is a league of making and missing shots. And, obviously LeBron being on the floor, AD being on the floor. And again, Russ didn't play bad last night. Russ was solid last night, but, the noise, I know they can say what they want, but I know the noise, they're listening to the noise in particular. So hopefully, they have some time to kind of find the rhythm. Last year they just didn't have a lot of minutes with AD, LeBron, and Russ on the floor. But outside of those 3 guys, they got younger, but did they get better? Did they get any real consistent shooting? And I haven't seen it.
I got to get you on the record about the Kings before we let you go. I'm not looking for exact number of wins or anything, but do you think this team's a play-in, play-out, or play-off team, Matt?
I think they're anywhere between 8 to 10, maybe even 7 if they really, really buy into what Mike Brown is talking about. And when you get into those play-in situations, you don't necessarily have to be the better team overall. You just have to be the best team that night. So when you get into a play-in situation, anything can happen to actually get you into the playoffs. So again, I know it's been 16 years since this team has smelled the playoffs, but I'm really encouraged again by, obviously not the wins they had in preseason, but just what they have. They have a lot of shooting, and they have guys that are buying in on the defensive end. So if they can, continue to build on that momentum, the West is very tough, but, they have a lot of talent on this team. So again, I see them kind of at the bottom of the playoff picture looking up, but definitely in the play-in situation, if not a little higher.
Matt, we appreciate you, man. We know you're very busy. So look forward to talking to you again soon down the road, and thanks for joining us.
No, thank you guys for having me. Have a good one.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, you too. There goes Matt Barnes again, NBC Sports California, All the Smoke Podcast, ESPN. The guy's got like 1,000 jobs. He's brought to you in part by Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. All guests come to you from that Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. So some good thoughts there from Matt Barnes, and he makes us sound like we know what we're talking about, Ramie. We think,
Go figure, right?
Yes, somewhere 7th seed to the 10th seed, somewhere around, 37, 38 wins. You said 40. Get into that, play in, and see if you can make some noise. So,
I don't know how I just throw darts at a dartboard and end up, on the same page with Matt Barnes with my predictions. That's wild.
You're just unbelievable, Ramie. That's what it comes down to.
I know.
You are an unbelievable soul. 916-339-1140 is the text line. Soothsayer Ramie Makhlouf. 1-800-920-1140 is the phone number.